Okay. So I went to church yesterday. On Saturday, I was trying to get out of town because my head's been spinning ever since somebody like put in the Atlanta Greyhound station. Somebody put something in my drink, um, like my coffee and my water. And I don't know how it got in my water. Um, I don't know what the grid is. Somebody told me about the grid one time, and I don't know. Um, so I was hallucinating in the Greyhound station. Everything was just a little weird. And then whenever I got out here, I was just kind of okay. I was like a little okay in Gadsden. Um, I was complimenting somebody's Sunday best in McDonald's 2 Sundays ago, and uh, and I was like, "Are you going to church near here?" And he said, "Yeah." I was like, "Is it in walking distance?" He said, "Do you need a ride? Do you want to go?" And so I went to church with this guy, and I shared the praise. They had really they called it old school worship in part of the time, and they had like really simple lyrics. Um, Great sermon. And they gave me $63, and I said I'm going to put this aside in a separate wallet um, for so that I can and it can build up over time. Just whatever I get on Sunday. Actually, they gave me $60. I ended up with 66.50 because um, somebody gave me $6 at a laundromat later that night. And the guy that had coffee with that morning, he went out to lunch with me in Boaz, so I got a little bit up the mountain, where I'm snowed in now. Nobody was going down the mountain last night. I was freaking out. I was trying to get out because my head was spinning like whenever I got up into this mountain, and then I think that like there's like a super bad like hard drug problem out here, like people's teeth and what all, um, like nasty, crazy. I'm like, I don't want to get lost in the mountain. It's not why I'm traveling right now. I'm not trying to do that. And but ultimately, I have a coffee addiction, and I have to take this under my own control. And to some extent, for some reason, without like a locked door, um, I can't I can't take it under my own control either. And like I said, and my eyes still kind of twitching from that hallucinogen or whatever it was that they put in there in Atlanta. But uh, and I freaked out that time, and then I finally get out. I'm having so much anxiety at night. Like I'm sitting there. My eyes are like I'm seeing things. I'm seeing like the roots doing things, and I'm seeing like I'm telling you, I'm going through some kind of experience, and and um like the shadows look like things, and I just keep reminding myself, this is all happening for me, and whatever's out there, it's just there for me. The people aren't there for me necessarily. The people might be really evil people, and this is what's showing. They might not even know that they're really evil people, um, but but something that I would never do. Um, I had some friends they were like, I got a few sweet tarts. I know I put LSD in one of these sweet tarts. Once I was at some guy's apartment, and and I was like, well, how about we all just take a sweet tart and we figure it out. And this guy, he'd done a lot of this stuff, and he's seen a lot of people do this stuff, and he goes, and I will always remember this. I was like 17 years old, and he goes, that is not something to play around with. And I think this is a good example of that, because I I freaked out. The police showed up at the Atlanta Greyhound station, and I got on my bus and I left. I didn't talk to them. They were talking to the security there. I freaked out. I told people around me what had happened. Somebody walked past me and said, "You smell like you're on acid." And I go, "It's not that," because that so there was some kind of smell. They could like smell my mind or something, whatever had hit me. But It wasn't that, because that takes about an hour to fall before it takes effect. It has kind of a specific way that it takes effect. To some extent, like it's noticeable, like it's a specific thing. This was definitely something else. It hit me immediately, and I was hallucinating, just barely. And my eye has been twitching ever since. It's doing a little bit better this morning. I got a decent sleep last night. We'll get to that. So anyhow, next day I met a guy at Waffle House. I was having a biscuit and gravy, and um, and trying to collect myself. And this guy starts talking to me, and he's got a tree cutting business, and he's like, asking me where I'm traveling from, because I got my backpack, and backpack helps me out. Somebody paid for my breakfast there. I don't know who. People have been buying me breakfast. That's been a cool thing that's just been happening. I got my backpack, and I go into a place, and I go up to the counter, and they go, somebody paid for it. That's sweet. Uh, um, then he's like, well, I can get you up to Arab, because I wanted to go out to Liberty Church that I knew last spring when I was in that parade for recovery, which you can see on the first Creating Heaven Hobo vlog. Um, uh, so he's like, I could take you there in about an hour. I gotta go do something. I gotta go by the office, and then but first I gotta go out to this other town, and then I'm actually headed in that direction past Arab to do an estimate on a job. And so I ride with him just kind of all morning. Uh, then and he's a really great guy. He says, hit me up if you ever need help or anything. Like last night, I couldn't hit anybody up. I couldn't hit a taxi service up. Um, the mountain was shut down because of weather. And nobody was going out because of the road conditions. And so I'm just like up on the mountain, uh, and which is in the foothills of the Appalachians. It's not that bad. Uh, and so I get out here. I have this, and I'm sure, and I start making decisions that don't make sense. I get off the bus at the church. This guy who's like fuming, like the dust of angels or something. Like there's darkness surrounding this guy's head. He's missing all his front teeth, and he's like gardening, and he turns to me, and I look him in the face, and I talk to him and introduce myself, and it just like takes over me. It just like hits me in the face, and I'm freaking out inside myself. Like I've already got anxiety. I got drugged, and I'm traveling, and I'm scared, and I'm feeling alone, and it just takes over me. And so I end up trying to move my mind past that, and I couldn't reason for days. Like I'm stuck in a forest. I blow my money on a stupid alcoholic beverage, and I'm sick. Like I was sick in a forest, and I end up buying things that I don't understand, and it's like I'm out of control. Like it doesn't make any sense. I bought like weird little like things from a thrift store that somebody had made, and I don't need to spend money on that. I bought a hatchet. I don't even need a hatchet. I did end up, like, oh, this is like a juggling club. I can kind of teach myself to juggle clubs again, but I only have one hatchet, so it doesn't really do me any good. I end up painting my rings. That's a thing. Like I don't even want, like I want to take dish soap and clean those rings off so that they slide better, and I have more control over them. It changed the weight of the rings, and so that was like I knew I was just out of control. I was doing things that didn't make any sense, and it was scary, and it happened day after day after day until it hit me in a night, and just suddenly I woke up from it, and I'm laying there, and I'm like tossing and turning in anxiety, and it's cold outside, and I'm, uh, and I start praying to God that that He'll walk with me, and that He'll just be with me, and I repeat that maybe 20 times, through the night, uh, just overwhelmed, like, oh my God, is something happening? What was that drug that I got dosed with? Like, what's actually happening to me right now? Why do I feel so out of control? Why am I not making good decisions? And I was enabled to make like decisions. And so then I wake up in that morning, and I got some coffee. I drink some coffee, like this, and that actually goes fine for me. And then I walk out to the road, and I fly a sign that says Huntsville, and I put my thumb out, right, and it takes 20 minutes. A car pulls over onto the side, and he's like, "Yeah, get in." And so I put my stuff in the back of his truck, and he starts driving. I'm like, well, I asked him, "How far are you going?" Because I need to get all the way there, and he's like, "I can get you to Huntsville." He's like, "How far into Huntsville?" I was like, "Just to the metro area," and he said, "Yeah, I can get you there." And so we're talking, and he's talking about God. Well, I mentioned God first, and he starts talking about God, and he's like, my friend Ben's the same way, and that he like talks about. He's like, uh, whatever. He'll like banish demons and stuff. Like he's someone like that, and so like he's talking about it, and I'm listening. And he's like, I don't know how you want, like, I don't know what you're trying to do. Like, are you like trying to find work somewhere, or are you trying to get somewhere, or what's your goal? And I was like, it really doesn't matter. I could. It doesn't matter, and ultimately that conversation amounts to, he's like, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn around, I'm going to take you back to my place, and you can get a shower in, you can do laundry, and you can just stay however long you want, and we'll just see how that goes. We'll play it by ear. And I was like, okay, that sounds good, man. Thank you, brother. And so I get back to his place, and and I get a shower first, and then he leaves for a while, and then I start reading a book on the couch, and I turn his television off. I start reading a book on the couch, um, kind of organize my stuff. I'm like, fine, I unload everything that I have, just DJ spills, whatever. Has like, anyways, like just everything out, and then I can kind of comprehend it, and I start throwing away trash and reorganizing things. I'm like, I don't even need this. And first time I'm able to comprehend, I couldn't think for like a week, and so I'm just like, finally I'm comprehending what I got in my pack. And I reorganize it, and it's just kind of all laying out on a couch then, and go back out into the room, and the guy gets back. Well, he made some coffee, and so I was drinking the coffee, uh, and I was like, this is like really hard, uh, and I was questioning it, and but I didn't really respond to it. You know how that goes, and so then I'm talking to him on the couch for most of the day, and he shows me like his favorite preacher, and we listen to a sermon that's really awesome, because actually during that time I had a demon's name repeating in my mind. As my mind was spinning, it was like mocking me, and it was saying, and then there's like other voices going, okay, well, that's so and so. I refuse to utter he who must not be named. I'm not feeding into your bull. But okay, uh, I started to figure that out, and 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 so he shares this sermon about, like, demons and what all and evil in the world is. It was called Exposing Satan. um it was pretty good. I listened intently on it, and then we talked about it. He was sharing like verses out of the Bible. He was preaching to me his perspective all day. And then it gets into the night, and we've had like long talks about God and whatever. He walked me through his sobriety, um, and uh, and it made a lot of sense. Like what he said made sense. Like to me, like he walked me through a thought process where at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I hurt myself, and that's a sin, and I like confess to God, like, God, this is a sin, and I see it. I see that I'm getting things wrong because I'm hurting myself, and I know it. I know it deeply. I know that this is not the way, and I've been insane. And it made so much more sense after this conversation. Like it embedded this in my gut and my heart, and it just made so much sense. And I was like, it's like vomiting that demon or whatever. Like just like what my um my father, he once said, like, I just kind of want you to understand, and just that whole like, well, maybe now I understand your stress, your anxiety, like what's driving you into that, um, which I hope that he's actually doing better now. I think that he was sick when he said that, but I think I did get to understand it from being with him for a couple weeks, and it was sick, and it was really traumatic for me, and it was like vomiting that out, and I just had this horrible disgust, and I want to cling to that disgust. I know that most things don't last in that regard, like emotions, and states of mind change, and I really want. It's like life on mushrooms. I want to cling to the compassion. I want to cling to this disgust with alcohol, and so. And then at the end of the night, he's like in his room. I walk into my room, and I kind of lay out my bed, and 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 I take a drink of water, sitting on the edge of the bed, out of my water bottle, and just I feel this like cold thing go through my intestines or my gut, and I'm overwhelmed with euphoria, and I just fall back into it, and I have two thoughts going through my mind. One is like a really like sexual, like, oh, this guy's gonna come home, and I'm straight, but it's that, and it's like through my whole body, and then the second is oh my God, what's happening? You have to pack all your shit right now and walk out the door. And so I'm like laying there, like trying to get past my emotions, my feelings, because I just got hit by a drug, and and I go, you have to pour the rest of this out while you can still comprehend it. I only took one little sip of water, and so that's what I do. I'm like, go, and I grab my water, and I go to the kitchen sink. Well, I go to the bathroom. I'm like, this is too small, or don't pour it in the bathroom sink. I'm confused, and and I go to the kitchen, and I pour out the water, and then I'm like, flush it. And so like I get a mug from the counter, and I'm drinking tap water, and he walks out into there, and he's like, you drinking coffee? I have a mug in my hand, and I'm like, water. And he's like, well, good. And then he walks back to his room, but he like fiddled with the sink, and so I'm freaking out. There's like a little like uh purifier on the faucet, and I'm like, what do you do with it? Like, is there drugs in that? And so like I just stopped drinking water right there. I walked back into my room. Actually, the first thing I did was I packed all my shit before I even. Well, I poured the water. I packed all my shit, and then I went to go drink water before I walked out the door. So all my stuff is packed up, and then he's back in his room again, and I walk back to get my backpack, and I walk out the front door, and I walk across the town in a cold rain, and I couldn't sleep, and I was laying on this patio of this place out of the rain, and uh, and I'm just like, what's gonna happen? I don't want to go to sleep because I know there's like a place you can slip into if you go to sleep on psychedelics that is really dangerous and it's really hard to come back from, and I don't want to go there. And so I don't know what this is. I don't know what I just drank, and then I thought I got scared in the middle of it. Like it got worse. My fears and what all inside me got worse in the middle of the night, and I freaked out and I called 911. Not 911. I called the police station and told them what had happened. And I said, "What do I do?" And he's like, "Well, man, if you think you need medical help, call 911 and get an ambulance." So I'm like, "Oh shit, oh shit." I talked to him for maybe like 5 minutes, and then I'm like, I can't call 911. I hung up the phone, but I was like, I can't get an ambulance. I can't afford that. I was like, well, at least somebody knows. At least I told somebody if I die, if this eats me up right here. I've heard about stuff that does kill you in like 24 hours. And so I was like, if that's what just happened, then that's and I went to Walmart. I got like a water, another water, and then I freaked out and I went back for my coffee in the morning. And I was just really having difficulty with making decisions. So I made 2 trips and I get back and it's like somebody put something in my water. And so I pour out the water and I don't have any water all night. And then, I'm freaking out. There's like a ghost or something at the building that I'm at. Like, what is this? And so I walked to another place. I'm like, whoa, evidently somebody is already here. That's not really my philosophy with going into new markets. Uh, like that it's already yours. Gotcha. Good. Well, I'll just take my things and leave now. And then I walk across town and I find another place to kind of out of the rain. It ends up getting a little bit flooded after about a couple hours of being there. And then I look at the time and I'm like, whoa, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm like, well, I guess it's time to go. So I don't sleep all night and I'm rolling. I'm like melting like hot. Like I'm okay. Like there's like getting about an hour of sleep helped me a lot to get past the panic that something horrible was happening. I'm like, no, you're just tripping out. Your teeth are fine. It's not gonna eat up your face. Just like one thing, and you're like, because I was scared, man. I didn't know what was happening, and so then I go to I walk over. There's a big, ritzy church, and I'm like, well, maybe there's some space out of the rain over there. And so I walk over there. It's like 6:30 in the morning, and there is, and I lay out. And I'm like, well, maybe I have like 3 hours. Maybe it'll be 9 o'clock uh, whenever they show up. And so it's like 7:30 when they show up. And so I go to church, and um, and I'm sitting in there before many people are there. Just a few people are there. I'm sitting in the lobby, and the pastor comes out. I don't know, he's the pastor, and he starts talking to me, and I'm on a roll. Like I just tell the guy what's happening to me, what just happened, that I haven't slept all night, and not really, uh, and so I uh I end up telling everybody just what's happening. It's just solid. Like I'm just so freaked out like and I just tell everybody. And I listen to the sermon and the sermon's about demons and child sacrifices and um and I just like got slipped a date rape drug. And I'm just like, whoa. And there'd been like a demon's name repeating in my mind all week, and I was like out of control. And I'm like, what happened? And this is like 1, 2. I got drugged twice, uh, with major things, not anything little. And the little stuff, I can't even handle it right now. Like it's like everybody stop, everybody stop, because I'm like tripping out, and I need to just stop giving me drugs. And 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 so I'm like really hardy at church, and it's awesome. What's happened to me is just awesome to next to the sermon. And then I end up somebody tries to help me out. They take me into a room. I go to like a men's Bible study after the sermon, and the police before the sermon, he comes over. They've got a security officer, and he's like, and I was like, I saw the sheriff's car pull up, and I'm like, oh shit, oh no, I need to talk like a preschool teacher. I go, oh no, like, oh, this is because I called. Uh, this is because I told everybody what happened. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. I'm like, I am out of this town. Like, I am leaving. Something weird, crazy. Little town in Alabama. And everybody's teeth, and not everybody, actually, most people not. I don't know why I got just like, I just saw that because when I go to church, look at all these families. Look at these like normal people, and then after church, some there were some normal like healthy looking people that ended up helping me out. But they take me into a room and they're like, well, "This is what we can do. We got this little motel over here," and so they give me a room at this motel. It is next door to the fucker's house that slipped me something. I don't know if he was trying to help me or if he was trying to rape me. Like, I don't know. I freaked out. Uh, I just like, honestly, it's a never, like I said about those guys who, they're like 1, 2, 3, like what do we got? Um, Actually, I wasn't even gonna take one. It was more like 1, 2, and the rule is you do not play around with that. That's the rule. And it wasn't that. That's not what he slipped me. He didn't slip me LSD. Um, I know that stuff, but okay. It was more like ecstasy or something like that. It was very euphoric, and I just one little sip from a full jug of water. It probably would have killed me. It definitely would have knocked me out. And that's something. I felt sick inside. Anyways, they buy me this motel room, and I go back at 1 o'clock I sit back at the church for a while, and then I go back at 1 o'clock, and it's right next door. And the lady at the counter, this guy, he's playing witness. Like, he followed me around the church all day. They're looking at me. The police officer asked me, like, whenever you're done with, you can go to service, but then they want you to leave. That's what they said. And so I was like, okay, I'll do that. And it started snowing. It's getting really nasty outside, and and I go back to this, and the lady behind the counter is like on the same shit that their next door neighbors on, and um it's just a never, man, and so it's, I don't know, and I'm not pressing charges on anybody, but and I wonder if it's to acknowledge that this is here, to like back me and give me some evidence that like it's not just me, and this guy understands, he witnesses it, and he uses the church's card to pay for 2 nights for like $100, uh, and I go inside there, and of course, because I'm still in this thing, I'm still in the same place, and my friend texts me, he's like, I'm praying for you, bro, and he's like, hey, can you send me some money? And I was like, I only got $40 left. I send him the rest of my money, and I don't need this right now. And then he that I have on a card, um, through Venmo, and he's like, awesome, man, I'll pay you back more later. And I believe the guy, and he's a really cool guy. And he's like, I'm praying for you, man. He's out in Colorado Springs, and he tells me what he's praying. He tells me he's expelling demons from me, and I'm like, okay, thank you, lol, because he's like that. That's Ben, um, and I'm like, I'm still praying for our bus, our revival bus, creating heaven hobo bus, uh, and for your investments. And uh, he says, cool, they're received, man. And okay, and then I freak out because I'm still in the thing. I give the key back to the people at the desk, and I walk to Walmart, and I'm like demanding of the Walmart employees. I haven't slept in 2 days, and I'm so hardy on whatever that is, and I was just in it again, like, okay, and and I'm demanding like, "Do you have cardboard?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, they're like, "We smash it all." And I have to ask like 5 times. And I'm like, "Well, can you go look for some cardboard that hasn't been smashed?" And finally, one guy comprehends, and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I could do that, man." And so he goes and gets me cardboard. And it's like, "Thank you, bro." And I'm like, and somebody asked me, they're like, "Are you okay, man? Do you need help? Like, how can I help you?" Just a person shopping at Walmart, him and his wife, and they're like, "Can we pray for you?" And I was like, "Yeah, please do." And he asked what's happening, and I just unload the story like automatic, like I can't stop, just like what's happening. And so he's like, "Well, here's what I'm gonna do. Buy yourself a taxi," and he gives me $100. And so taxi services all out, and then I end up I go to another hotel. There's 2 hotels in this town. I go to the other hotel. The doors, lockable, a lot better lockable because I don't know about the grid, and like nobody is slipping me this shit anymore. Like, and so I lock myself up, and and I can finally try and feel safe to just drink a little bit of water because I was like dehydrating myself all day because I was so scared of them doing it again. Little town. Well, yeah. Now I guess this is my only night in here, and it's about time to leave. So I'm gonna try to get out of town, hitchhiking. I think the snow is supposed to stop. I hope that somebody can get over the mountain because I don't want to sleep outside here tonight again. I don't want any more of this. Oh, whatever it is. And I'm not going back to that hotel for my second night. I'm not going back to that hotel. So, anyways, hell of a time. But there's some good people. And long story short, I don't have all of the money from my church fund anymore. Um, the room was like $106 for the night, so I don't get to save that money like I wanted to, because I said I need this now.